Going on right now in BC with 40 ostriches being murdered is a perfect example of just how tyrannical our Canadian government has become. I know they have this woke veneer and Trudeau, Carney love to talk about democracy, but this is a perfect illustration of just how tyrannical our governments have gotten. There were 25 RCMP cop cars at an ostrich farm in BC yesterday to murder 40 ostriches who had not even been tested. They think that they believe the government is asserting that there's some sort of a risk with these ostriches. The owners of the ostrich farm attempted an injunction to say, if you're going to put our ostriches down, it's really sad, if you're going to put our ostriches down, at least test them beforehand to confirm that they are really a danger like you claim that they are. The Canadian government said, no, we refuse to even show you the respect of testing to confirm whether or not these ostriches actually pose a risk. They cut this ostrich farm's power off at 4:30 in the morning, totally shutting down the owner's ability to have any knowledge of what was going on their own property. 25, an excessive show of force if I've ever seen one, which is traditionally you very frequently see this type of thing with tyrannical governments, is these excessive, ridiculous shows of force. 25 RCMP cars showing up to take out 40 ostriches, and it's truly heartbreaking. These are sentient animals that clearly the owners of this farm have a real relationship with. It's been devastating watching the owners of this farm talk about how they're trying to protect their animals, how they've been disrespected throughout the entirety of the process, how the government has refused to do them the service of at least doing some sort of basic testing. And now in Canada, the government is shutting down Canadians' power, showing up on your property, not showing citizens basic respect of our Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and murdering animals. This is disgusting, and I think that if there's anything that can become symbolic of what Canada is turning into, it's actually going to be this type of an event, because everybody loves animals. Who wants to see innocent ostriches killed? It's hard to do as effective job of illustrating just how dangerous Bill C-9 is, which is the most ruthless attack on free speech in Canadian history. Without a doubt, Bill C-9, the so-called Combating Hate Act, which threatens Canadians with lifetime imprisonment for speech, when at the same time the government lets people out after 12 months after essaying young children, and lets convicted criminals out on the streets again and again and again. Real physical harm. In Vancouver, 40 criminals committed 6,000 crimes in 2024. But the government, for so-called hate speech, fomentation of detestation, vilification, we can see exactly where this is going. When they say hate speech, they mean speech they hate. They're trying to shut down our ability to criticize them through Bill C-9. Bill C-2, which classifies every single Canadian citizen with a computer as a digital service provider, and allows the government to look through every single one of your communications if it is deemed in the national security interest, without going through the Attorney General. Throughout the entirety of Canadian history, it's been necessary to go through the AG for these types of searches. It cuts the AG totally out. Complete totalitarian takeover. Bill C-2 would also allow the government to open your mail if it's in the so-called national security interest without any notification. What's going on in Canada cannot be defined as anything else than authoritarian, but it can be difficult to exemplify when we're at each other's throats. But I don't think any Canadian would disagree that it is horrific to see innocent animals being slaughtered. The scenes, please, if you get a chance, go check them out. They're devastating, but I think Canadians do need to be aware of exactly what their government is doing right now out in British Columbia, slaughtering 40 innocent ostriches without even doing the due diligence of testing them to see if they're even positive for the flu. A massive show of force with 25 RCMP cars. They shut these people's power down. It's really heartbreaking. The videos of the owners of this ostrich farm, you can tell that they're devastated, but this is Canada in 2025. They dress their government up in this woke veneer. We're so friendly, but if you don't go along with the party's ideology, things are getting very tyrannical very quickly in this country. Please like, share, subscribe, join, become a member if you're enjoying my content, help support. Because Mark Carney and the Liberal Party in 2025, I would argue, are the most undemocratic in the entirety of the G7. They're crashing our economy. They're ruining our healthcare system. They are treating Canadians like third-class citizens. And we need to unite and fight back against these communists, because that's what they are. Mark Carney and the Liberal Party have become complete communists. They sell us out at every turn. It's time for patriotic Canadians to unite and say enough is enough.